Really disgusting news out of North Carolina about voter suppression and disenfranchising voters to the point that many, including a judge, are calling what has happened in North Carolina Jim Crow style voter suppression. Now, as a reminder, there's no doubt at all that the entire point of voter ID and reducing early voting, it's all about helping Republicans. Let me remind you, when Republican Pennsylvania State Representative Mike Turzai admitted this in front of cameras in a speech, that voter ID is all about helping Republicans. Remember this?
We are focused on making sure that we meet our obligations that we've talked about for years. Pro-Second Amendment, the Castle Doctrine's done. First pro-life legislation, abortion facility regulations in 22 years, done. Voter ID, which is going to allow Governor Romney to win the state of Pennsylvania, done.
So it's no surprise. And we know about the insanity of what has gone on in North Carolina. And I will tell you about some of the latest revelations there. Number one, the Elections Board Chairman, Bill McAnulty, tried to open a Sunday voting location. It was in a mostly white county where there were areas of black churches where black church members were going to go vote after Sunday services. And Republicans instantly called Mr. McAnulty a traitor. Following the blowback from the Republicans, McAnulty withdrew his support for the Sunday voting site. We've also learned that there has been a very active effort by North Carolina Republicans to push against early voting, to lobby for shorter voting hours for early voting on weekends and evenings. And then there is also the push generally to reduce the number of locations, increase the number of ID requirements, etc. We generally knew that. So what's the news? Well, the news is that Reuters has now obtained emails through a public records request. And you don't have to look very far to realize that this is very, very political. The emails revealed that while Democrats were lobbying for early voting hours, more locations publicly, completely in the open, saying, here's what we want, here's why we want it, Republicans who were lobbying against early voting were doing it privately because it's obviously partisan. If you are going to do this secretly as opposed to publicly, there's no doubt that there is something wrong with what you're doing or something unfair about what you're doing, something discriminatory about what you're doing. But that's not it. The problems in North Carolina are way bigger than just restricting early voting, because we have now heard from U.S. District Judge Loretta Biggs, who slammed the ongoing voter purge that is going on during a hearing late last week, saying that she was, quote, horrified by the, quote, insane process by which voters could be removed from the rolls without their knowledge. Here's what you can do in North Carolina. And I did not know about this, Pat. If someone receives mail at an address and it gets returned to sender, you can take the mail that has been returned to sender and go to the Elections Commission and say, listen, I sent this person mail. They're registered to vote at this address, but it's been returned to sender. The mail is undeliverable. Remove them from the voter rolls. That's all it takes. It's completely legal. And this has been used to actually purge thousands and thousands of voters, mostly black Democrats. Who do you think they're voting for in the election? In a completely legal manner. Now, think about this. You can game this, right? You can say, all right, here's what we're going to do. We know that poor people are disproportionately likely to move more often. We know that poor people are disproportionately more likely not to have a steady mailing address. Let's just deliberately start sending out all sorts of mail only to voters that we believe would vote for Democrats. It'll come back as undeliverable, and we will take that and ask for them to be removed for the voter rolls. It's insane. And really, you have to do something about that. That should not be legal, right? The solution is not, oh, well, they should be doing it to Republicans too. No, this should not be legal. This should not be a method through which the individual can have other people purged from voter rolls. And at least one judge is saying this is insane and this is Jim Crow-like.
And it's really just a sad reflection on your party that you can't win a war of ideas, so you have to resort to these sorts of tactics.
Yeah, it's not like they say, oh, you know what? It's just bad for people to vote early. Voting early is objectively a bad and immoral thing. No, it's that they know that early voting and any methods that will generally increase turnout, particularly for disadvantaged individuals, is likely to help Democrats. It's completely political and it's completely partisan and it's disgusting. And this happens every election. Will it make a difference tomorrow? Is this going to swing one state or two states or three states in a way that is going to swing the entire election? I hope the answer is no. I really hope that the answer is no.